Hello, and welcome to your Marketo Measure Start to Finish Technical Setup webinar. Today, we're going to cover all of those important technical configuration items that you need to get up and running with Measure. So today, we're going to run through an agenda that will cover meeting me and giving you an introduction to who Nomad Marketing is. Going to then cover all of those Marketo Measure technical integration items. So assigning user permissions, authenticating your domain, integrating ad platforms, connecting your CRM, configuring website tracking, and then of course, reviewing your data to make sure everything is working. So to give you a quick intro to who I am, my name is Steph. I've been at Nomad for nearly 6 years, and I have also worked in all of the major marketing automation platforms like HubSpot, Pardot, Marketo, and then also the CRMs and third-party integrations that you can, any of them that you can think of. I also really, really love to listen to great music. I love to cook, and I love to pet dogs. So with that being said, I'll give you a little intro into who Nomad is. Nomad is a group of New York City-based marketing operations consultants. Everyone here is trained, again, in all the major marketing automation platforms. And we are also experts in all of the tools that integrate with those marketing automation platforms. So CRMs, enrichment platforms, routing platforms, really anything you can think of, we work in every day. So that being said, do you want to dive into our webinar content? And we're first going to start with assigning user permissions. So first things first, we are going to log into Marketo Measure at apps.visible.com. And if you hear me talk about Visible at all, it's because that is the old name for Marketo Measure. So from the login screen, you're going to navigate to the admin console section here. Once in here, you're going to look at the top navigation bar and just choose the users section up at the top. And once you're in the user section, you'll see that there's a left-hand side navigation bar that has an administrator section that we're going to pop over to after. But first, we're going to start with adding users. So on this screen, you can add users by inputting their email address, their first name, and their last name. And then you'll see that there's an option to add your products. And that's where you're going to go ahead and add the Marketo Measure products to the user. So that pop-up will open, you'll select Marketo Measure, and then you'll be able to see that on this screen here. Once you've confirmed that all of the products you need are assigned to the user, you can go ahead and click Save at the bottom. That will successfully add the user, which means that you can then go ahead and add them as an administrator if you need them to be an administrator. So navigating to that left-hand side subsection for administrators, you'll want to click on the button that says Add Admin. And then in this section, you can start typing the email address of the user who you just added. Once you see them in the dropdown, you can select them and you'll see that all their information pulls through here. Then you want to click Next, and similar to the Add User section, you'll be able to add the product to the administrator as well. So you're going to want to toggle on the product administrator option and then click that plus sign to get the managed products that you need in here. So in this case, we obviously need Marketo Measure. So I've gone ahead and selected that. And once you've confirmed that, again, they have all the admin permissions for the platforms that they need, you can click Save at the bottom. All right, up next, we're going to talk about authenticating domains. So in the admin console, we were previously in that users section at the top, and we're going to jump over to the settings section. Now on the left-hand side, you'll see that we are in the identify settings subsection, and that's what that screen looks like now that we're looking at here. So on the screen, you'll see that there's two tabs, one for directories and one for domains. And we're going to want to switch that domains tab in order to go ahead and add the domains that we're looking for. So it'll create this pop-up, which will allow you to add up to 15 domains at once. Now, it's important to know that you really only need the root domain here, plus the .com part of it. You don't need to include the www or HTTPS or any subdomains. You really just need the root domain that you want to authenticate. So you can go ahead and add up to 15 of these domains here. Now, you're sitting there wondering, why would I maybe have 15 domains? It happens when there's a parent company that has maybe a lot of brands that they manage, and you want to have Marketo Measure track across all of those different domains. So that being said, you can go ahead and add all of them here, and then go ahead and click Next. On this screen, you'll see the domains that you just added and the status of needs validation. Totally expected that you're going to need to validate as we've just added. So once you get to this screen, you can just go ahead and add domains at the bottom. Once you're back to the main screen, you'll want to go ahead and click on those three little dots on the far right side and click Access DNS Token for the domain you just added. This will have a pop-up window which will show you the unique DNS token for the domain or domains that you've added. You're going to want to click that Copy Entire DNS Record at the bottom, and then send that DNS record to your site team, your IT team, really whoever manages your domain, as they will go ahead and add the token to the existing domain, and then you'll be able to track on the domain that you just added. Once you've gone ahead and sent that to your team and they have added it successfully, then you're going to want to navigate to Marketo Measure the product. So from the console to the product. This screen should look familiar. This is that typical login screen that we're familiar with. So you're going to click that, and it will by default open up to the Discover dashboard, but we're going to really want to be in the My Account tab and click Settings. Once you're in the settings section, you can navigate to domains from the left-hand sidebar, which will open up the screen we're looking at right now. Here you can see two domains. So in the admin console, there was one domain that was already set up, authenticated, and validated, and that's that top domain here. And then you'll also see that domain that we just added together that is still waiting to be authenticated. So important to look at both of these right now to just show you the difference of what it will look like. So the bottom is what it will look like when you first add it before your site team has gone and done what they need to do on their side. Once the site team has added it and it has been validated, then it will look how the top one looks, and you will have the ability to enable it on in order to start tracking. So very important thing to just call out that your site team adding it to the DNS token to your domain does not automatically allow for tracking. You do need to do that one step further of coming in here and making sure that enabled is toggled to true. Okay, so now that we have your domains authenticated, we want to connect CRMs. So in the settings tab of My Account, still, we are going to go to the connections subsection from the left-hand sidebar, and you'll see down at the bottom, there's the CRM MAP connection area. So you're going to want to click on the Setup New CRM Connection, and that will pull up a pop-up that allows you to select either Dynamics or Salesforce. That will then open up the login screen for those two platforms, and you'll be able to log in with whoever you want the integration user to be. We do recommend that you choose an integration user that is not tied to any specific person, but rather a very generic, like integration at your company's domain.com. This will ensure that if there is anything that changes on your end with staffing or resources, that the connection will still remain active because the user is not tied to one specific person. So once you go ahead and successfully log in as that integration user, you'll see that the status is connected and that you're all set here. All right, next up, we're going to integrate your ad platforms. So we're going to stay in that same section we were in to connect your CRM, and we're just going to move up a little bit to look at your ads platforms. And you're going to want to choose the Set Up New Ad Connections button here. That will bring up a pop-up that allows you to choose which ad platform you want to connect to. You have any of these options here, from Google Ads to Microsoft Advertising to Google Platform, Marketing Platform, to LinkedIn, to Facebook. And once you click connect, it will take you to the login screen for that platform, and you'll be able to sign in just like you would if you were signing into the platform. Now, different from what we just talked about with your CRM, but we actually recommend that you don't use an integration user for this, and you just integrate with whoever is the admin of that individual platform. Once you've connected them, you can click close, and you'll see all the platforms you've successfully connected here. Now you'll see that if things are working and they're connected as expected, you'll see connected status here. But for some of them, you will see authorization required. This is something that happens every so often where you need to come in and reauthorize the connection of an ad platform. Whoever originally connected the platform will get the email that just lets them know they need to come back in here and redo it. And then one other important thing to note is that you don't have to just limit yourself to one of each platform. Sometimes companies have multiple LinkedIn accounts or Facebook accounts for different brands or different sides of their business. And if you have multiple, you can go ahead and connect multiple, like LinkedIn's, for example. So to configure website tracking, we're going to go up to the My Account section in the top navigation bar and switch from settings to account configuration. On this screen, you'll see that we have a couple of line items that we're actually going to come back to in just a second, but I did want to point our attention to the script that is at the bottom. Now, something important to note is that the script for Marketo Measure is universal. Every single user has access to the same exact script, but what makes it unique to your company is, of course, that domain authentication that we already covered. So really important that you go through those steps to make sure that when the script's on your site, it's tracking your domain. Now, what you're going to do is come in here and just copy that script and send it to your site team, who can go ahead and add it to your site. Now, they can go about this in a couple of different ways. You can either add it through your Google Tag Manager or hard code it into your site, just in the head. And there's the preference between these two. It just depends on how you have implemented other scripts in the past. The benefit of Google Tag Manager is that it typically lives on pages that aren't only managed by maybe WordPress, for example. So if you're hosting Marketo or HubSpot or Pardot pages, those will typically have your Google Tag Manager on it as well, which means that adding it through there will allow for tracking across all the different places where your site lives. However, some people feel more comfortable just hard coding it into the head of your site. And if you do that, just a reminder that if your site lives on, for example, WordPress, but there's also some Marketo or HubSpot or Pardot pages that you have, you'll just want to make sure that that script is implemented in all of those places. Lastly, we want to make sure that your data is flowing. So we can actually confirm your data is flowing by the same screen we were just on. I love this screen. I consider it a little health check to just make sure everything's working. So you'll see those line items that we briefly talked about, we'll come back to now. You can see that there's one for CRM connection, ad connection, and website tracking. Now, when you see a green check mark next to your CRM connection, you know that everything is working as expected. Everything is connected normally. When you look at ads connection and you see green check marks, similar there, it means that they all have a status of connected. Now, if you remember when we were on that screen, there was one platform that authorization was required. And so that's why we're going to see that red alert. Definitely important to just show you that this is normal to see that with ad connections especially, and that this is a good place to quickly check and see how things are working with that section. And then lastly, you can see that we have a green check mark next to website tracking. And that means that your domain is authenticated, the script is on your site, and data is coming in. So that one, we love to see green, as of course all the other ones. But again, this is just a great place to get a feel for if your data is flowing in. And one other place you can also double confirm that things are working is in the Discover Dashboard section. So you're going to navigate out of the My Account section that we were in and switch to that Discover tab that we were first in when we logged in. Now, this is a series of pre-built dashboards that Measure provides you, and each dashboard is accessible through the left-hand navigation bar, and each one just provides different value for you all. Because specifically, I want to take a look and see if web traffic is working and make sure that the script and the domains are all working beautifully together. I chose the web traffic dashboard. And if you're seeing data here, it means everything is working and that data is coming in through your online script. So that is definitely something that we want to see. And if you're not seeing any data here, then that's where you know that there's something in the configuration just needs to be adjusted in order to get all of that flowing through. So hopefully you are seeing your data come through. And if you are, then congratulations. You have successfully technically configured your Marketo Measure instance. Now, if you would like any additional Marketo Measure support, Nomad supports both implementations and ongoing services for Marketo Measure. And you can go ahead and contact us by just going to our contact us form on our site, and you can reach out to us that way. However, if you just maybe have some questions about this webinar specifically that we can go ahead and answer, then you can feel free to email sales@nomadmktg.com and we will also get back to you. But thank you so much for joining today's webinar. I hope your Marketo Measure instance is up and running beautifully and that you'll check back in for our next webinar. Thank you.